In this riveting video, we delve deep into 5 chilling crime cases that shook the globe, spanning from the sun-soaked coasts of Australia to the vibrant streets of the Philippines, Thailand, South Korea, and Malaysia. Each story unfolds a unique panorama of mystery, intrigue, and unforeseen twists, giving you a front-row seat to criminal investigations that make headlines. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more incredible content. Let's unravel the mysteries.
Murder of Celeste Mano in the quiet suburbs of Melbourne, Australia. A young woman's life was brutally cut short by a man whose obsession knew no bounds. This is the heartbreaking story of Celeste Mano, a victim of stalking that turned deadly. Celeste was murdered in her own home by a man she barely knew, a former work colleague who had become obsessed with her. The case shocked Australia and revealed disturbing flaws in the legal system's handling of stalking cases. The story is not just about the horrific crime itself, but also about the failures that allowed her killer, Luis Sacco, to escalate his behavior unchecked. It's a story that has left her family grieving and demanding justice, not just for Celeste, but for all victims of stalking.
Celeste Mano was the epitome of youth and promise. Described by her mother, Aggie Dioro, as someone with nothing not to love, Celeste was known for her infectious smile and laugh that could light up a room. She worked at a call center in Melbourne, where she was adored by her colleagues and had recently started dating Chris Ridsdale, a relationship full of joy and potential. In June 2019, Celeste's path unfortunately crossed with that of Luis Sacco, a 35-year-old team leader at the call center. Celeste Mano was a 23-year-old woman from Melbourne, Australia, who was brutally murdered in November 2020 by Luis Sacco, a former colleague who had become obsessively fixated on. Their connection was minimal, limited to a brief workplace interaction when Sacco was fired from their call center job. After his dismissal, Sacco began stalking Celeste relentlessly for over a year, starting with obsessive messages on Instagram despite her repeated attempts to block and report him. Celeste sought help from the police multiple times and obtained an interim restraining order against Sacco. However, the legal system's response was slow and insufficient. Initially, police dismissed her concerns, advising her to ignore the messages or leave social media, failing to recognize the severity of the stalking. Only after persistent harassment and a breach of the restraining order did authorities take more serious action, but by then the stalking had escalated dangerously. On November 16, 2020, a few hours after Celeste posted a photo with her new boyfriend online, Sacco broke into her home by smashing her bedroom window with a hammer. He then stabbed her 23 times while she was sleeping, killing her in a violent and rapid attack. Sacco fled the scene but later surrendered at a police station, blaming the police for her death and asking to be shot. Sacco was sentenced to 36 years in prison but will be eligible for parole in 2050. The judge did not impose a life sentence due to Sacco's diagnosis of an extreme personality disorder, which was said to have significantly impaired his mental functioning at the time of the crime. Celeste's family, especially her mother Aggie Dioro, expressed outrage at the sentence, feeling it was too lenient and highlighted systemic failures in protecting stalking victims. The case exposed critical flaws in the handling of stalking in Australia, showing how victims can remain vulnerable despite reporting abuse and obtaining legal protections. Celeste's family continues to campaign for justice and reforms to prevent similar tragedies. In summary, Celeste Mano's murder is a tragic example of stalking escalating to fatal violence, compounded by inadequate legal protections and enforcement. Her story underscores the urgent need for better support and intervention for stalking victims to prevent such heartbreak in the future. In this chilling true crime story, we dive into the heartbreaking tale of Celeste Mano, a vibrant 23-year-old woman from Melbourne whose life was tragically cut short. Celeste's dream turned into a nightmare in November 2020, when former colleague Luis Sacco's obsessive fixation led to an unspeakable act of violence. Join us as we uncover the details surrounding this harrowing murder, analyzing the warning signs and the events that spiraled out of control. Through interviews, evidence, and expert commentary, we aim to raise awareness about obsession and its dangerous consequences. Don't miss this powerful tribute to Celeste. Remember her, learn from her story. The life of Celeste Mano. Celeste Mano was born on November 22, 1996, in Italy and moved to Melbourne, Australia, with her family while still young. She had two brothers, Jaden and Alessandro, and was extremely close to her mother, Aggie. Celeste's family life was warm and loving, with her mother always by her side. After graduating from high school, Celeste attended RMIT University, where she pursued her passion for understanding the human mind, majoring in criminology and psychology.
Celeste was a bright, caring, and compassionate young woman with big dreams. She aspired to become a psychologist, driven by her deep desire to help people. Her kindness extended to her relationships at work, where she thrived in a call center job at Serco in Mill Park, Melbourne, quickly rising to a team leader role. She was described as the epitome of kindness, and her infectious smile and warm personality left an indelible impression on everyone she met. In her personal life, Celeste had found love with her boyfriend, Chris Risdale, whom she met at work. The two were happy together, and their relationship flourished. In November 2020, Celeste posted a photo on social media, proudly making her relationship with Chris official. But this seemingly innocent act of sharing happiness would become the catalyst for a tragedy no one could have foreseen. The stalker, Louis Seiko. Louis Seiko, the man who would ultimately take Celeste's life, was a former co-worker of hers at Serco. Seiko, born in Iraq in 1984, migrated to Australia with his family in 1992. He had always been a loner, described as withdrawn and socially awkward, with no known history of romantic relationships. His obsession with Celeste began in June 2019, shortly after he was fired from Serco for poor performance. On his last day at work, Celeste, who had been his team leader, courteously shook his hand and wished him well. It was a simple gesture, but one that would spark an unhealthy fixation. From that moment, Louis became infatuated with Celeste. His obsession escalated rapidly, and he began sending her inappropriate messages on Instagram, professing his love and stating that he couldn't function without her. Despite Celeste's polite rejections and attempts to distance herself, Louis' harassment intensified. He created dozens of fake Instagram accounts to bypass her blocks, sending increasingly disturbing and sexually explicit messages. One particularly chilling message read, "Celeste, if you had my body for a day, what would you do to me?" Celeste, horrified by the escalating harassment, sternly told Louis to stop contacting her. But it didn't stop. Instead, his obsession turned into anger and resentment when he realized Celeste was not interested in him. The harassment and the system's failure. By late 2019, after months of relentless harassment, Celeste confided in her mother, Aggie, and her boyfriend, Chris, about the torment she was enduring. With the support of her family, Celeste went to the police to report Louis' behavior. However, her complaints were met with indifference. The police, who dismissed the stalking as a mere annoyance, advised Celeste to get off social media, essentially blaming the victim for sharing her life online. They failed to take her claims seriously, insisting that Louis hadn't committed any crime yet. Celeste's pleas for help were ignored, even after months of harassment, which included Louis following her home, parking outside her workplace, and sending over 140 messages from various accounts. The police refused to act. It wasn't until a full year after the harassment began, and at the urging of a more sympathetic officer, that Celeste filed for a personal safety intervention order against Louis. Despite the intervention order, Louis persisted. He sent Celeste a 3-page letter, pleading for her to revoke the order and claiming that he would move on. But this letter was a breach of the order itself, and when Celeste reported it to the police, they finally had grounds to arrest him. Louis was detained briefly in August 2020, but shockingly, he was released within 24 hours. This turn of events left Louis seething, and his obsession with Celeste darkened further. The crime. For the next 3 months, Celeste and her family lived in fear, even as Louis' harassment seemed to stop. He remained radio silent, but unbeknownst to them, he was plotting. On the night of November 14, 2020, Celeste, feeling a rare sense of freedom, went on a date with Chris and posted a picture of their time together on Instagram. This picture would be the final straw for Louis. In the early hours of November 16, 2020, at approximately 4:10 a.m., Louis executed his horrific plan. Armed with a hammer and a knife, he scaled the fence of Celeste's family home, smashed her bedroom window, and climbed inside. Aggie, awakened by the sound of breaking glass, rushed to her daughter's room only to find her covered in blood, having been stabbed 23 times. The attack was brutal and swift, lasting just minutes. Louis fled the scene, but his fate was sealed. Overcome by guilt or perhaps a desire to justify his actions, he drove straight to the police station, where he confessed to the crime. He told the officers, "She's dead. You know what happened. It's your fault." These words, a haunting indictment of the system's failure to protect Celeste, ring chillingly true. The trial and aftermath. Despite Louis' confession, his trial dragged on for nearly 3 years, largely due to his own manipulations. He tried to evade responsibility by claiming mental illness, arguing that he had been suffering from psychosis at the time of the murder. He fired his lawyers, represented himself, and even attempted to convince the court that he had only stabbed Celeste twice, rather than 23 times, as the forensic evidence showed. Ultimately, the court saw through Louis' attempts to feign insanity. In February 2024, he was sentenced to 36 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Justice John Dixon acknowledged Louis' extreme personality disorder but stopped short of sentencing him to life in prison, a decision that left Celeste's family heartbroken. Aggie, devastated by the sentence, expressed her anger at the justice system's failure to act when her daughter had reached out for help. She vowed to fight for stricter laws against stalking and for better protection for victims like Celeste. "The police showed him mercy," she said, "but they showed my daughter none." A call for change. Celeste's death has brought renewed attention to the inadequacies of current stalking laws in Australia and the dire need for reform. Stalking is an insidious crime that is often brushed aside until it's too late. Almost half of all stalking victims never report the incidents, fearing that law enforcement won't take them seriously. Celeste's case is a heartbreaking reminder of what can happen when those fears are realized. Her family now advocates for the electronic monitoring of stalkers and stronger penalties for those who violate personal safety intervention orders. They believe that if such measures had been in place, Celeste might still be alive today.
Our second story is from the Philippines. The death of Christine Dacera occurred in the early hours of New Year's Day of 2021. Dacera, a 23-year-old flight attendant, was found unconscious in a bathtub in City Garden Grand Hotel, Makati, Metro Manila, Philippines. Let's see what happened.
Today, we are diving into a heartbreaking case that shook the Philippines and the world, the untimely death of Christine Dacera. I've spent countless hours researching and piecing together the facts, and I want to share with you the truth behind her tragic story and the controversy surrounding it. The death of Christine Dacera occurred in the early hours of New Year's Day of 2021. Dacera, a 23-year-old flight attendant, was found unconscious in a bathtub in City Garden Grand Hotel, Makati, Metro Manila, Philippines. Dacera was a flight attendant for PAL Express, which was based in Manila, Philippines. She was declared dead on arrival at around 12:25 p.m. after she was rushed to Makati Medical Center. On New Year's Day 2021, Christine Dacera, a flight attendant with a vibrant personality and dreams just starting to unfold, was found dead in a hotel room in Makati City. What began as a celebration with friends quickly turned into a nightmare, leaving her family and a nation desperate for answers. Christine was out celebrating the new year with friends when she was reported missing. As later, her body was discovered in the bathtub of her hotel room. Initial reports indicated that she may have died from a heart attack or natural causes. However, autopsy findings revealed a different story, evidence of trauma, and the police quickly categorized her death as suspicious. As we delve into events, we see several inconsistencies. Witness statements, the nature of the injuries found on Christine, and the immediate response from authorities all began to raise red flags. Friends who were with her that night came under scrutiny, leading to a drawn-out investigation filled with accusations, legal battles, and a media frenzy. Why were her friends, initially viewed as companions, suddenly painted as suspects? What evidence was there to support such claims? The twists keep coming. At one point, authorities seemed to be heading on one trajectory, only to shift focus entirely as public opinion shifted. Social media erupted with theories. Was it a case of foul play? Had Christine suffered a drug overdose? Or was it something more sinister? But who really were the key players in this tragic narrative? After months of back and forth, one thing became clear. While the investigation was ongoing, the truth remained obscured. Police arrested several individuals but later released them due to a lack of incriminating evidence. This only deepened the frustration of Christine's family and the public. As I researched, I found that the real tragedy lies not just in Christine's death, but in how her case highlighted issues of gender-based violence, accountability, and the struggles faced by the victims' families in their quest for justice. Ultimately, the unresolved questions linger like ghosts from that fateful night. Who were the real killers? Why was there a delay in justice? And what can we learn from Christine's story to prevent such tragedies in the future? Through her death, let's ensure we honor her memory by advocating for transparency in investigations, the rights of victims, and a movement towards justice that directly addresses the root causes of violence against women. As we finish today's discussion, I encourage you to reflect on how we can support victims and their families. Let's use this case as a stepping stone toward raising awareness and pushing for change within society.
Our next story, from the land of K-pop, South Korea. So what really happened to the young promising actress by 12 crew members of the film?
New Korean actress was sexually assaulted by 12 members of the crew, collapsed and committed suicide. The criminal is still filming. One of the casting directors of the crew turned out to be a criminal who organized a group to sexually assault the actress. His crimes led to the destruction of the young girl's family. What's even more frightening is that, almost 20 years later, he and his criminal accomplices are still in the show business circle, often appearing in and out of the program groups of major TV stations. Justice has yet to come.
Yang Sul-yuo is a very smart and well-behaved. It is said that her IQ is 150 and her academic performance has always been very good. She was admitted to a good university in South Korea with a scholarship, and she has excellent grades since she was a child. Sul-yuo was born in an ordinary working-class family. She has always been the pride of the whole family. Everyone said that she would have a bright future. Sora's younger sister Sujin is also a very good girl. Although she is not as good at studying as her elder sister, she is good at singing and dancing since she was a child, and she is a backup dancer for a famous singer. During the summer vacation while studying for graduate school, Sul-yuo wanted to work part-time to earn money to subsidize the family.
So her younger sister recommended her beautiful and temperamental older sister to be a part-time actress. With the help of her younger sister, Sora signed a contract with a certain acting agency, and soon she received a call from the agent, telling her how many TV dramas she could act in. Although it was only a supporting role, Sora also felt that such a life quite fulfilling. Everything went well in the beginning, until July 2004, when Sora joined a drama crew in Hatting, South Gyeongsang Province. The production crew has a casting deputy head who specializes in managing supporting actors. From the beginning, he started to touch Sul-yuo, which gradually turned into sexual harassment and obscenity, and often threatened Sul-yuo, so that she dare not tell other people about it. 1 month later, the deputy team leader called Sul-yuo to his office and repeatedly persuaded Sul-yuo to attend the celebration banquet organized by him. Sul-yuo, who can't drink at all, was deliberately drunk a lot by the deputy team leader, and the deputy team leader raped Sul-yuo in a nearby room. The evil deputy team leader surnamed Lee not only did not stop, but also called more wretched men from the agency and the crew to join in, molesting and sexually assaulting Sul-yuo in a similar way. Among them are scouts, actors in charge, department heads, and other 12 people. During the violence, they made a lot of physical violence and verbal threats against Sul-yuo. They told Sul-yuo that if she dared to speak out, she would not be able to survive in society, and they would kill her sister and mother, and put her sister sold to brothel. In order not to hurt his family, Sul-yuo endured inhumane abuses again and again. These 12 people often imprisoned Sul-yuo in vehicles, hotels near the production team, and collectively raped them in the warehouse of the production team. The endless torture lasted until November, and the TV series was finally finished. During these 2 months, Sul-yuo's family discovered that she, who was usually gentle and calm, became aggressive as soon as she returned home from the film crew. She started walking around the house naked, hitting walls and things with her fists for no reason, and even insulting and beating her mother and sister. Sul-yuo read the names of several people in his mouth, and kept saying that he would kill them. The mother knew something was wrong when she saw it, so she took her daughter to the psychiatric department for appraisal. Doctors believe that she has been overly frightened and stimulated in the past few months, resulting in symptoms of schizophrenia. After being admitted to the hospital for a period of time, Su Luo's condition stabilized, and finally he mustered up the courage to explain his painful experience to his family. Su Luo's mother was very determined. With her support, Su Luo finally mustered up the courage to call the police and prosecute the 12 perpetrators. She kept a diary after each victimization, which can be used as strong evidence. Unexpectedly, the prosecution was the beginning of a disaster for the Suro family. In December 2004, a police station in Seoul accepted the case, but throughout the course of the trial, the victim and her family members were brutally injured again. Su Luo was constantly made unreasonable demands by the police, such as describing the scenes and feelings of the victim over and over again, and even asked her to carefully draw the shape and color of the criminal's lower body. One of the policemen in charge of the case even broke into the interrogation room after being drunk and verbally harassed the victim. What's even more frightening is that the police's investigation method is too simple and rude, directly asking the victim and the criminal suspect to sit face to face in the same room and confront the police, which is called three-way dialogue. Such conversations are held once a month. It is hard to imagine how a tortured girl in her 20s should walk into the police station.
Su Luo, who had a nervous breakdown, couldn't bear this painful investigation several times, and even rushed out of the police station and ran to the main road to be hit by a car. Do they consider it inappropriate to conduct a confrontation when a sexual assault victim is psychologically unstable? The police did not pay attention to the evidence she provided. The 12 perpetrators said that she was a slut who voluntarily had sex with them. Su Luo, the diary she wrote, was also considered to be the imagination of the insane, and that is the story of the Yang sisters in South Korea. Please leave your supportive comments for Mrs. Yang. In the comments, we're going to translate them, a bunch of them, for her, and I know that she would love to see her support.
Our fourth story is so terrifying that Thailand was very shocked with the intense and level of this serial killer crimes. Can you imagine this happening in your area? Are governments doing all things possible to protect its people?
Thailand's worst suspected serial killer, Cyanide, a Thai woman accused of murdering 14 people, has been given the death penalty. In the first of her 14 murder trials, Sararat Rangsawathaporn, also known as Cyanide, was convicted of lethally poisoning her friend with cyanide in Bangkok last year. What's next? Ms. Rangsawathaporn faces 13 additional murder trials, where she is accused of killing other friends under similar circumstances. A Thai woman believed to be among the worst serial killers in the kingdom's history has been convicted and sentenced to death for poisoning a friend with cyanide in the first of her 14 murder trials. Sararat Rangsawathaporn, a 36-year-old online gambling addict who has been dubbed Cyanide by Thai media, is accused of swindling thousands of dollars from her victims before killing them with the chemical. The criminal court on sentenced Thailand's suspected biggest mass murderer to death. Before the court, Ms. Sararat Rangsawathaporn stunned friends and family of her last murder victim with her attitude. She reportedly remained relaxed and nonchalant while chatting at length with her legal advisors as the court ordered her life taken away. This was the first case of 15 murders that will be brought before the justice system. At the same time, Police Colonel Anak Tausafap, Deputy Commander of the Crime Suppression Division, CSD, told reporters that 14 more cases will be handed over to the prosecutor's office next Tuesday, November 26th. On Wednesday, the criminal court, after a long 3-hour judgment, sentenced Ms. Sararat Rangsawathaporn, also known as Cyanide, to death for the murder of Ms. Siriporn Kanwong, also known as Known Koi, on April 14, 2023. The victim was poisoned by the killer using cyanide. 14 more murder cases linked to what is Thailand's biggest mass murder case will be passed on to the public prosecutor's office by police. Thailand's criminal court on November 20, 2024, sentenced the country's most notorious serial killer, 36-year-old Ms. Sararat, to death. The case, however, dealt with just one of 15 murders committed by her over a 9-year nightmare. Indeed, the defendant and now convicted killer has come to be known in the media as Cyanide. Though the charges in this trial pertained only to the death of one victim, Ms. Sararat has been implicated in a much larger spree of killings spanning nearly a decade. Her crimes, all involving cyanide poisoning, have shocked Thailand and prompted a police task force in 2023 to meticulously investigate her extensive criminal activities. Criminal court sentences notorious serial killer Sararat Rangsawathaporn to death for one of 15 murders. Ms. Sararat, a woman from Ratchaburi, was arrested on April 25, 2023, after a police investigation linked her to multiple suspicious deaths. As authorities dug deeper, a court in Bangkok convicted her on Wednesday for fatally poisoning her friend Siriporn Kanwong, who is also known as Koi. The two women met up near Bangkok in April last year to release fish into the Mekong River as part of a Buddhist ritual. Ms. Kanwong collapsed and died shortly afterwards, and investigators found traces of cyanide in her body. Police were then able to link Sararat to a string of previously unsolved cyanide poisonings going back as far as 2015, officers said. The court's decision is just, Ms. Kanwong's mother, Tongpin Kiachnasiri, told reporters following the verdict. Police said Sararat Rangsawathapurn funded her gambling addiction by borrowing money from her victims, in one case as much as 300,000 baht, over $13,000, before killing them and stealing their jewelry and mobile phones. She lured 15 people, one of whom survived, to take poisoned herb capsules, they said. AM Cyanide is accused of luring her victims to a meal and poisoning them. Sararat Rangsawathapurn faces an additional 13 murder trials and has been charged with around 80 offenses in total. Her ex-husband, a police lieutenant colonel, was given 16 months in prison and her former lawyer 2 years for complicity in Ms. Kanwong's killing, the lawyer for the victim's family said. Thailand has been the scene of several sordid and high-profile criminal cases. Earlier this year, 6 foreigners were found dead in a luxury Bangkok hotel after a cyanide poisoning believed to be connected to debts worth millions of baht. Thailand is one of a few dozen nations that retains capital punishment. The last person to be executed in Thailand was in 2018.
Our last story is like a movie from Hollywood, but in Malaysia. In the early morning of 16 July 2025, Zara Karina binti Mahathir, a Form 1 student of Tundatu Mustafa Islamic National Secondary School in Papar, Sabah, died after falling from the 3rd floor of her school dormitory.
We explore the heartbreaking story of 13-year-old Zara Karina Mahathir, whose untimely death has sent shockwaves through her community and beyond. Join us as we uncover chilling allegations of a potential cover-up by authorities, igniting a relentless wave of public anger and suspicion. Why are so many drawing parallels to past social unrest? Are justice and accountability being swept under the rug? Don't miss this critical discussion. Engage with us as we seek truth, justice, and systemic change. The tragic death of 13-year-old Zara Karina Mahathir has ignited a firestorm of public anger and suspicion. Allegations of a cover-up by authorities have amplified the outcry. Many are now drawing parallels to past instances of social unrest. We'll look into the circumstances surrounding Zara's death. It will also analyze what makes people so angry. Then, we will assess if similar events could really cause widespread riots, like what happened in Indonesia and Nepal.
Circumstances of death and initial investigations. Zara Karina Mahathir died on at. Initial reports described her death as. However, many questions quickly arose. Witnesses reported. The official timeline of events also faces scrutiny. People want to know exactly what happened leading up to her death and right after. Allegations of misconduct and cover-up. Soon after Zara's passing, serious allegations surfaced. Community leaders and some media outlets claimed a cover-up by local. They say police did not investigate properly. Evidence presented includes. These claims point to specific high-ranking officials or department. People believe they are trying to hide the truth about Zara's death. This hurts public trust in a major way. Public outcry and social media mobilization. News of Zara's death and the alleged cover-up spread fast. Social media platforms became a hub for public outrage. Hashtags like #JusticeForZara quickly trended, bringing many people together online. Thousands shared their sadness and anger. Online campaigns demanding a fair investigation began almost immediately. Soon, these digital protests moved offline. Small gatherings and vigils started to appear in public spaces, demanding answers. Factors fueling public anger and mistrust. Perceived injustice and lack of accountability. Many believe Zara's case is not being handled fairly. There's a strong sense that those in power are not being held accountable. This perception makes people think the system protects some and punishes others. When people lose faith that justice will be served, anger grows. It can make folks feel helpless and unheard. This isn't the first time trust in authorities has worn thin. There's a history of alleged misconduct and cover-ups in the region. Past incidents often involved police or government officials. These old wounds make people more skeptical today. This creates a ready-made climate of doubt, socioeconomic disparities, and marginalization. Existing inequalities can also fuel anger. If some groups feel left out or treated unfairly, their anger can boil over faster. When justice seems to only apply to certain people, it widens the gap. Perceived wrongs, especially against a child, then become a symbol of bigger problems. This makes it easier for people from all walks of life to join protests. Triggers for mass unrest. Lessons from Indonesia and Nepal.
Comparative analysis of grievances. When we look at Zara's case, we see strong grievances. People want justice for a child. They suspect a cover-up by those in charge. This is similar to the anger against corrupt rule in Indonesia or Nepal. However, the scale of economic hardship or political oppression might differ. The depth of public anger is intense, but its ability to become widespread riots depends on many factors. Are the issues isolated, or do they connect to larger societal problems? The role of government response and transparency. The government's actions now are critical. A transparent and honest investigation could calm public fears. If authorities seem unwilling to cooperate, it makes things worse. Are they truly looking for answers? Do they share information openly? Political analysts often say clear communication builds trust. If the government fails here, the anger will surely grow. A sincere effort to find the truth could prevent bigger problems. Other things can also play a part. Social media makes news travel lightning fast. A single post can reach thousands, even millions. This instant spread of info can quickly mobilize people. External groups or actors might also try to influence the situation. Their involvement could push things toward unrest. The current situation very unpredictable, preventing escalation. Pathways to de-escalation and justice. Demands for independent investigations. For calm to return, investigations must be fair. People demand independent teams to look into Zara's death. This means investigators must be free from any government influence. Public confidence in the process is vital. Citizens can help by organizing petitions. They can also ask for independent oversight. These steps build trust and show commitment to the truth. Leaders must listen to community concerns. Holding town hall meetings or forums can help. These gatherings let people share their anger and sadness. It also gives authorities a chance to explain their actions. Building these bridges can reduce tension. It helps everyone work towards solutions together. Upholding rule of law and ensuring accountability. The legal system must work for everyone. It needs to deliver justice and hold people accountable. This holds true no matter their position or power.
This video will not only shed light on Zara's story, but also serve as a call for accountability and justice. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep the conversation alive.
Kita boleh memohon kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala untuk meringankan kesakitan keluarganya dan memberi keadilan kepada Zara dan ramai wanita muda yang tidak berdosa seperti dia. Semoga Allah merahmatinya dan semoga yang membawanya ke kematian tragis itu melihat karma dari tindakan mereka.
We have shared with you stories and crimes from all over the world. Some are strange in all aspects. Some are insane to have occurred to any human mind. What we can learn from that, and how can we stay safe and protect our kids and homes and always keep you prayers, it makes a big difference. Until then, ciao and see you in the next videos. Some are strange in all aspects. Some are insane to have occurred to any human mind. What we can learn from that, and how can we stay safe and protect our kids and homes and always keep you prayers, it makes a big difference. Until then, ciao and see you in the next videos.